I want to know about each of you a little bit, if you can.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
I'm happy to start. I have brought in something. I have, it's a little, it's a guru game, so I thought we should play a game, right?
Oh,
Make it fun. I have 10 eggs in here, and I brought some spoons. Now, the idea of the game is something that Janaka was either directly or indirectly involved in himself. It had to do with something else, but I've created my own game with eggs. On each of the eggs is written one of the primordial, well, one of the gurus of the Primordial Guru, Sri Adrian, correct? Yeah. So anyway, the idea is I need 10 volunteers. If you don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything, you just have to volunteer. That's all you need to do. You can be seated, please. You don't even have to get up. Okay. So I need volunteers. Oh, okay, spoon. Pick an egg. No. You don't want to drop it. You take one out with your hand, put it on the spoon. That's in the right hand. That's in the right hand. Here you go. Okay, who else? You can look to see who you have. I'll come back. Do you want one as well? No, take it out with your left. Whichever hand. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you have, unless you want to tell people. It's okay.
Okay, and now?
Put it in a spoon. You have to hold it. It's special. And I'm not going to tell you why we're doing this. You have to figure it out for yourself. You know, thumb's not supposed to be in there. That's cheating. Sure.
You're a doctor.
No, I'm not. Who else are you? I'll come back.
Lots of volunteers.
yeah, lots of volunteers. That's nice.
Okay, someone else here. Okay. You can hold with your right hand or your left hand. The idea that I had in mind was, but you do as you wish, okay? The idea that I have Confucius. The idea I had in mind. This is what I was originally going to do. I was going to say, okay, now I want you to follow me around the room. Okay?
This tree is so small.
Smooth right there.
I think for it.
I'm not going to tell you. Okay, who wants the other one? Who wants this one, right?
I've been voluntold.
Alright, so you're the first one
Here
here.
you go.
Oh, I have a cool breeze with mine.
Pardon me?
I have a cool breeze.
Because
the keyboard.
My brain is
Okay. The thing was, when I started reading, and I sometimes try to complicate things because I go too far or whatever, and I thought, I just need to make this really simple. And while you're holding the egg, okay, I'm just going to tell a story of something that happened to me personally a couple of weeks ago. I was on a Saturday, it was a beautiful day, I'd gone for a walk down Navy Street, if you know it, the Urschwitz Museum, and they have a beautiful garden here, and I was walking through the garden, and there was a lady in front of me, her name was Nina. Of course I didn't know her, but I got to know her. And she was walking ahead of me quite slowly, and I walked slowly also, but I caught up to her, and as I passed her, I just said hello to her, and I walked a little bit further, and I thought, oh. And I saw her, and I said, and I went back to her, and I just started talking. Isn't it like a beautiful day out? And the next thing you know, she just started to talk to me like I knew her. It was really unbelievable. And I think I spent about 30 or 40 minutes talking to her. Or actually, I should say she talked to me, which was really the interesting part. Because usually, because I don't talk much often, and so if I have the opportunity to talk, I talk. But usually I'm quiet. I don't talk. So anyway, she had a lot to say, and she told me she was originally from Belarus. She was Russian, or what was at one time, I guess, the Soviet Union. And interesting, she could speak 5 different languages: Polish, Russian, Belarus, German, French, maybe 6 languages, English. Really interesting lady. But she came from like poor upbringing, and her husband sounded like a really interesting person. They both came to Canada a long time ago, worked very hard, 3 children. But what she was really interested in, she'd look at me and she'd say, now, it's very important to be, she asked me if I was married, and I said yes, it's very important to be faithful, respectful, and I was listening very carefully to the things she was saying to me. She was talking to me about the things we talk about here. So I was curious to know whether or not she was part of a group or anything like that. She said, no, this is what she does. Every time she has an opportunity to walk around, she likes to introduce herself to people and just talk about the same thing she was talking to me about. This was so amazing. And as I was talking to her, and I thought, oh, I feel this like right here. It's like a spinning sensation. I knew that I was making a connection with her, so I knew for myself that it was important for me to really listen to what she had to say. And of course, 2 weeks ago, we really hadn't been assigned, which team you're on. So I knew I had number 1, but I didn't know which one of the prophets it was. So fast forward a little bit. I'll come back to her in a second. Fast forward a little bit. So I'm reading about King Janaka, and where I see it on it's right about here, about 5 o'clock. That's where Janaka resides, and I thought to myself, that's really interesting. This is where I was experiencing some kind of connection. So isn't that really, for me, not coincidental that what I picked was connected to what I was experiencing and listening to this lady speaking to me, this 84-year young lady. I thought, wow, and then she told me towards the end, just before we separated and went our own way, that she already knew she was going to be leaving soon. I sent an email, to Iwan about this, and I thought to myself, like, she looks really healthy and everything else, and why do you want to leave? Because she really loved her husband, and she was, all the things she had talked about that she thought were important for me to know, and I was really interested to hear that. This is the way she had lived her own life. So I thought, this lady very much like a guru herself, even though she may not be a guru in the sense that we talk about a guru. And I thought, that's really interesting how these connections get made. This happened with me too with the heart chakra the last time we played this game. So I thought, wow, that's really amazing. So it was really lovely for me to meet this person. I want to share that story with you.
I got such a cool breeze.
I don't know how much time I have. There's one more thing I'd like to say about King Janaka, but I'd like you to share as well.
I just read one very little, but one of the pages where Ivana has written. So he was asked a question or he was asking somebody a question, or he was asked a question: if you don't have your legs, what you gonna do? So he said, I use my hands. If you don't have your hands, what you gonna do? I'm gonna use my senses. If you lose your senses, what will be left? He said, I will have myself, and myself will be my light. So that is really the divine. So we are actually all divine. So when I was reading this in my office, where I'm facing all sorts of things, it was amazing for me to know, oh, really, I'm divine? Wow. So that means I can solve my office problems. So I'm sorry, my life is, very specific. Home problems, office problems. So it was really nice to know. And what I've done for myself is I put Sri Mataji's photo on my office computer. So everybody comes and says, is that your mom? I say, yeah, of course, she's my mom. And several times in a day, I just put my hand and I say, and it's nice to know that somebody was born like centuries ago, King Janaka. He was, I think, first guru, yes? And the lesson there is we are all divine, but a lot of us have lost it, but that's not the point. We can make the connection now, and we can work at it, and we can gain it again. So that's our big advantage. Advantage in the sense of, not measurement, but really something to be thankful for, that we've got our connection back. That's what I think. It's like a person like me who's always like fidgety. It's really for me to be thankful with the fact that I've got my connection back. And technically they say that when you say that you are your own self, and that's what Mataji says, you are your own self, you're your own divine, you're your own sun. So it's not so that a little bit of you is in darkness and the rest is lighted, or most is darkness and the rest, no, light is complete. When you're your own sun or when you're divine, you're completely divine. So it's not so that nothing can go wrong, but you will not do wrong things, or you will not do harmful things. Instead, you will use your wisdom to solve things, like no matter where you are. So, and you will be connected to the right people around you in your environment. That's what I think. So,
Yeah, that was my experience with this lady. Just
yeah.
allowing myself to connect with her.
So I think that was his story that we got. Each one of us is our self-divine. This is the most critical journey that we have to accomplish in our life. The rest is perhaps just activity of this universe, which is also within us and also within plants and trees. So, yeah, thank you.
Do I have a few minutes more?
Yes.
Okay. So there's one of the stories that's Sri Janaka, 2 words, king and beggar. So he was not just a king, but he was also a beggar. And I think there's a story behind this, which came from the name. There was a young boy. One of the stories that I read. His name was Astaraka, I think, if I have that correct. Pardon me? Say it again. Astalaka. Okay, thank you. So you know the story. Okay, good. So you can help me out there.
No.
Anyway, the king was, as I understand it, King Janaka wanted to become realized, and there was this boy, or however you say it. And one of the things, when the king was looking for someone, and he met this boy. Just want to get it right. So, part of the story is only after you give your offering to me. This is what the boy said to the king. Only after you give your offering to me. But he did not want anything material. What he wanted, what the young boy wanted, was he only wanted the king's mind. That's all. He just wanted the king's mind. Nothing else. Nothing material. Just the king's mind. So the king said, okay. So I guess in the course of time, the king surrendered himself, Janaka. He surrendered his mind. And in doing so, all the things that we've just been seeing, you know, the video, the things we're just talking about right now, everything you just said, Divya, it had to do with becoming courageous enough and truthful enough with yourself to be able to surrender whatever you're holding on to that will allow you to experience the other side, which is the beggar side. You know, a beggar, we presume, would be someone who wouldn't own anything. And for a king to be able to experience that, he therefore allows himself to experience not only the worldly, but I guess that which you consider to be, I guess I could call it unworldly. That is to say, Sri Mataji talked earlier about the idea, the notion of innocence and simplicity, or simple people. And so what the king had done for himself was he learned how to balance himself, even though he was a king. And I think he lived about 10,000 years ago, I'm not sure, the idea. So the idea of the eggs, to tie this in with the idea of the eggs, and I know some of you perhaps are tired of holding the eggs, so you've got it in 2 hands or whatever, that's okay. And if we had done, I wanted to walk around the class, around the room, and you're supposed to follow me. Right, you're still supposed to follow me. But the whole idea was, you may find yourself doing what in holding on to the egg?
Focusing.
Pardon me?
Focusing.
Really focusing. And so these eggs are, the reason I used eggs is because to me there's like seeds. They contain embryos, or the potential for, that's what the idea of primordial means, right? They're going to become something much more than just the egg. Okay, and that's the reason why I wrote the names of the 10 prophets on them as well. So the idea that I got personally myself from the story of Nina, the lady I told you about, and my own learning have to do 2 words. Basically, the idea of focusing or attention. To become attentive, that is really attentive of what this is all about. And the other thing is to take in those experiences which will help you to understand, which I think has something to do with what Janaka is trying to teach us, is to be able to reflect on those things which you say to other people and on what other people are saying for me, for myself. So it was very interesting for me to think about meeting this lady, and instead of me talking, I just wanted to listen. That's what I wanted to do. And then I went home and I thought about this, and like a whole bunch of things came on along after that. So that's pretty amazing, really, for me personally. So I wanted to share that. And I think what comes out of all of that in the end is the whole notion or the idea of becoming a more loving person, which I think is to me at the core of beginning to understand why you would want to be more attentive, or to gain some of the experiences that I know for me personally, things that I've been afraid to experience or to do, even being up here talking to you. It's so much easier now for me to be able to speak, but for a good part of my life, that was not an easy thing to do. So for me, overcoming fear. The eggs are hard boiled. You can eat them if you want. I brought serviettes. There's serviettes over there. If you want to keep it, take it home. You do whatever you want. You can keep the spoon. It's okay.
You gave me that.
Pardon me?
The game show is not complete. You have to go around 3 times.
What, around the...
Yeah.
Oh, you want to follow me and walk around again?
Now we know we don't have
We have another team. We have another
The
team.
focus is not nearly as intense anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Was so beautiful the vibration.
That was beautiful, yes.